Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michael Akahane from Duallist Project, and today I'm bringing you end of a season commentary on Bubuki Buranki. As always, let's have a look what is Bubuki Buranki. Bubuki Buranki is a 12 episode long anime which aired in winter 2016, and it was created by a studio called Sanzigen. It can be classified as an action and sci-fi anime, and I think those tags pretty well fit the anime. Let's now have a quite brief look of a story, and quite to do as usual to do it less spoiler stuff. Virtually, there are. I thought it would be a mecha anime, but it's again there is little, well, little. Half of the episodes are robot fighting, but again, it's not your typical standard mecha. It's more about individual weapon users fighting each other than from time to time going to the mech and fighting a big style. And yeah, and the thing is, this anime had a quite weak start, and I was thinking, oh, this is no good. Uh, and it will, it looked like it would be quite boring. But then again, after episode something like 6, 7, it became slightly more interesting, and it kind of picked up the pace, and it became better paced, became more interesting, and uh, kind of started doing things right. So it's going to get a better score uh, from me than I originally planned in the in the mid-season commentary. I kind of lost the voice for that for a second, and yeah, I thought I would give it something like 5 in the mid-season commentary, but it managed to pick up the pace, so it's going to get a nice. It's going to get a nice 6, or 6.5 if I would be doing a half points, but it's going to get a 6. I'll explain more, and yeah, this story was, as I said, it was quite slow paced in the first half. Then it picked up the pace, and virtually it kinda became more interesting. It started to draw the viewer in, and something actually started happening on the screen. So, virtually what happened is probably the first half of the anime was the group getting together and running away from what appeared to be a main villain. Then they started fighting back, and they managed to reach their destination in, I think, 3 episodes before the end, and along there were some interesting fighting as well. And yeah, so yeah, and it was really interesting how it picked up the pace to the right tempo. And in the end, it appeared that there might be a second season, which might be actually centered on the main character's sister, and to do it her way, if or a second season maybe, or a movie, hard to say. But it looked more promising, and it looked like, oh, we're going to do something which is going to pick up the place we left and do more, or at least it kind of teased. The anime teased itself in the very last episode. Yeah, character development. If I will have a look, yeah, there has been some character progression because in the first half they kind of wanted to all the characters to go to face their past, to face their fate of their parents, and to they tried to force the characters to develop, and I would say they kind of failed on that point, and it went really, really just felt really awkward. Why are you doing this? Why are you confronting with us and not holding it properly? It's like, okay, this why it's floating in the air. The character's resisting it. They're not, and they do not bring anything afterwards. And after a couple episodes, in the second half of the anime, it actually meant something. They started evolving the characters slightly bit. They have become more, how to put it. Uh, Really, they faced the situation almost once again, and they managed to do it correctly. They didn't resist the change that was inside of them, and yeah, and kind of developed in a good way. Then probably the biggest character development was on the. I do not know if I should call her a main villain, but probably yes. Because she appears like that through most of the anime, because the anime takes her character in a really narrowed scope and poses her as a really bad and tyrannical person. And what is revealed in the anime that she isn't that bad of a person at all. And in the end, she is a slightly nuts lady, or yeah. And what I'm talking about, Ryoko, the main, probably the main villain, or the holder of single of the Entei, one of the mechs which is still active. And yeah, for some unknown reason, her character development went slightly in reverse, if I would call it like that. But it was really interesting to see how her character was portrayed and how it was handled. If I had to pick a character which was handled the best in the anime, first it was Ryoko. And probably in catching up in the development was the main protagonist. And yeah, and those two have seen a really interesting development of their character. Virtually from the main protag went from useless person into a slightly less or slightly more hyped person, more determined one, but still not able to fight properly. But again, yeah, and it was really interesting to see this character development. As I've said, the first half was not handled properly, second half well done, and yeah, so that's it. Arts and music. Art-wise, it was slightly odd to be honest. Uh, but then again, I mean, the weapons, the eyes of the, it kind of felt why would you need to do that? Then again, they explained that the weapons are living things, but yeah. Uh, Still, the characters were drawn in a really interesting way. Some of them were slightly cutesy, some of them were slightly more hard. Most felt slightly inconsistent, but again, they probably wanted to portray the characters in that way, and to rearrange it. But yeah, or to do it like we're doing this roughish style for the more cooler character, and slightly cuter for the weaker characters, and yeah. But yeah, so I felt it was slightly inconsistent, but nothing too displeasing. Uh, Voice-wise, wasn't that great. So it wasn't. Yeah, I would say it's okay, but again, it wasn't too standing out, and there weren't any if I because I do not remember this, so I'm probably saying there wasn't one because it didn't struck my mind. Uh, for example, if I compare it to with Aldna Zero or Gundam, they are usually when there is some fighting, they usually put some interesting BGM, and I do not remember anything from Bubuki Buranki, or it didn't struck my mind. So to be honest, I do not remember if there was some BGM going on, but there probably should have been some. Yeah, that's probably it. Character, characters, most favorite character. Uh, I thought from probably episode when from second appearance of the character of Ryoko that she's going to be my number one, and she stayed like that. She is badass. She is this probably now 30-year-old lady stuck in her 16-year-old form, and with being really weak sometimes, and uh, really this crazy nuts psycho from time to time. The contrasting and the contrast of her character and how she's displayed and how she's drawn, and virtually she's probably the best done character in the anime, and she's got my 100% liking from this one, and she's probably the character which up the score as well, because in the last episode there was even flashback to why she is like that, and they explained her character properly. She's probably one of the few properly explained characters in the anime, and she makes sense. And well, she does not, but I mean, how they show her what she is, that's how really. And again, uh, points added, which probably will diminish my previous argument. She's a redhead twin tail. She's a redhead twin tail. Come on, that's my strike zone. So yeah, okay. Enough of the jokes. This has been, as I've said, this is going to be a really nice six. There have been, I have taken it up from 5. Uh, if I would say it was 4.75 to, we're going to, 5.5. Sorry, really nice 6.5. Sorry about the 6.5, and it's not going to go to 7. Because if the first half was handled more properly, it would have gotten 7, but there was a high potential for me dropping this show, and it's not going to get a 7, so it's going to get stuck with 6. So yeah, it's 6 out of 10. I'm doing a 6 out of 10 ratings, and yeah. Okay, people, thank you for listening. This has been Michael Akahane from Duallist Project, and see you next time with more end of a season commentary and more one sitting into videos. And stay tuned for more updates. If you like this video, please hit like or subscribe, and see you next time.